Hello YouTube family, James Green, short series Shenanigans. So this is going to be a couple episodes. I don't know how many it's going to take, but I know it's going to take longer than 30 minutes, and you guys know me. I like to spread stuff out and show you as much as I can something new and exciting. Now I know from previous videos in the past, anything I have to do with hydraulics, you guys really like to watch it. So this is the motor and hydraulic pump itself off of the Boyer-Schultz Challenger 2A 6x18. It's a hydraulic, okay, X and Y power feed. Alright, and we're slowly going through, and we've named her Gertrude, so if you guys ever hear me refer to Gertrude, you know what we're talking about. So we're slowly going through everything, and the reason we decided to take the pump off and look through it was on, I know I've posted pictures of this on social media, of this actually sets inside of a separate hydraulic unit, okay, and it has a couple of hoses that goes down and sets beside this, and this is what actually drives the table to traverse back from left to right, and then also Y to feed in, and that'll be a separate video once it gets running. But I have chosen to, as I'm going through this, as I find things, let's fix it, let's make sure it's right as rain before, you know, I don't want to just plug it in and okay, we're grinding and then have something go wrong. So I've taken this to we're not doing a 100% get it back to brand new. Now, if that were the case, that would cost way more than, you know, but what I am doing is going through the stuff that I'm going to be doing. This is going to be, it'll work, okay? I haven't checked the tolerances as far as, you know, how tight, well, now I know the gibs are tight on the X and Y. They're tight. There's, you know, they're like they should be. Now there's normal backlash in the Y when you go to crank it. And you guys, I've showed you the gear that was like needle thin. So I'm going to be having to build a gear, and I've still got to order needle bearings for that whole mess. And so, but anyway, when we took the hydraulic lid off of the tank, it was full of metal. You know, it looks like someone had the lid off of it at one time. There were actually giant aluminum shavings that had landed in the hydraulic tank. Now, the filter where this fills in and supplies from, because this just fills straight down from the tank here, is where it sucks in. There was a metal filter here, and it was packed slam full of metal. Now, I know there's been a lot of fine stuff that could get through here. There were no holes in the filter. It looked fine, but just because the age of it, and I'm going to go through here, and I have cleaned this up considerably. It was one nasty, leaky, oily mess. Now, I don't know whether that was from, because the lid just presses on this. So anytime you would tilt or move the hydraulic tank, oil could slosh out. So I don't know if that oil that was all over here was from it being moved and sloshed out, or if these seals in here were leaking. So it's like, while we got it down, and so this video, it's going to be a couple of them. I'm going to give it a good once over, so that way if you guys out there eventually acquire one, or you just want to kind of know how I approach problem solving and thing, and that's why I'm doing this video. So I got you guys over my shoulder, and I'm just going to go through it with you. You guys follow along, and I'll just show you kind of my thought process through it. Again, everybody approaches things from a different manner and way. Now we do know that this motor was running. I got this all from Andrew Padaka, and he sent me videos of it running and working, so we know it works. We just need to look at it and see, okay, because he said this whole thing needed TLC, and I understood that. Got no problem with doing this stuff. It's like, now we're doing the, well, what do we need to do to make sure it's good to go? Because we don't want to be in the middle of a project and have something break down. So anyway, so one of the first things, and I love these little magnetic trays. Go to Harbor Freight or wherever you're at if you're overseas and you get these, make you some little, you know, magnetic trays. You know, generally you can glue some magnets on some little bowls or whatever. They're great. Got some basic hand tools here. Now, I'm going to replace this cord here. So I just went ahead and cut it. But what I am going to do, and this video serves two things. Number one, documentation for me. So when I go back, if I have any questions, I can look and say, okay, where is it at? Now, also along the way, I recommend grab your smartphone. I will along during the video. I'm going to stop and take pictures of, like when I get this off, I'm going to take a picture so I know when I go to put my new wiring back in, I'm going to copy exactly what I have here. So smartphone is something handy to have. So we'll just go ahead and we'll get started here. We're going to go ahead and we'll get this off first. We'll come in here, we'll just pull this strain connector off. Now you can tell that they've grounded right back to the case for the ground on this strain connector. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's how they did it. Alright, you can tell that's falling apart, which is fine. Now we're going to take this, here's a Phillips. Let's open this up. And you guys make sure if you have any questions, comment, or you can get a hold of me. My public email address, eagledustoff37@gmail.com. Now here is a very old and toasty, you can tell how warm that has gotten in there. Very, very, very toasty. So it talks about, I don't know if wiping it off would help. If it's greasy or it's just gotten that hot. Sometimes you can go in here, because this is like a wax type paper on this old stuff. You can go in here and wipe at times. So, connections for 3-phase 9-lead motor. Okay, so this shows you the connections on here. So, it's a 9-lead motor. So this motor, and I'll show you guys the tag real quick. I'll turn it up here and get you guys to look at. This is actually a Tut Hill Pump Company, Chicago, Illinois, and rotation it doesn't show in here, but this can be wired for 230 or 460. So let me get you guys to zoom in here and on the tag so you guys can get a look at this. Okay. So that's just the basic wiring diagram, since you can you guys can see all the information there on the tag. Okay, so that gives you the basic information. So however you would want to wire this up for future reference. Now me, I know this is going to be fun because it just looks like a bunch of, this is a black wire, that's a black wire, that's, you know, they all look the same because they've been hot in here. And let's see how they've done the old. Yeah, see, this is so old, the insulation is cracking. Let's see how they've tied these up. Okay, they have bolted them, which that is the acceptable way to do it. Okay. Stan Zakowski showed on his channel whenever he did his rotary phase converter from American Rotary, and showed how he did it, and I did the same thing. I didn't have that fancy whatever tape he called it or whatever, but they do have them bolted. So what I'm going to do so that I can cheat later on, because let's face it, we all want easy ways to do things. So what I'm going to do, my side cutters, and they're never handy when you need them. They're in the other toolbox. So instead of trying to remember fancy wiring patterns, for those of us that don't do this all day, every day, so what I'm going to do so that I know, because the wire that I have is going to replace this. It has It's 10-4. It has the standard green, red, black, and white. So what I'm going to do in order to cheat or make it easy is, so that I know this one goes to red, because this is going to go up into here, okay, and this is to the motor wire. I'm just going to go ahead and clip this, and I know whenever I go to put my new lead in, I know that the red is going to go here, okay, and you can see that was kind of put together so. Yes, it was bolted, but you know, however they did it, when they did it, who knows. So we'll go ahead and unwrap each one of these. And so the area that I'm clipping from is actually this stuff up here. And the green, that's, I don't know, that's just a mess. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut all this right here. Okay, and so there we go. Yeah, they just took the green and they pulled it back up out of the strain connector and connected it there. There's actually an area in here where if you wanted to, you could connect it in here to the motor case, and that's probably what I'm going to do when I go to redo that. So that we're going to go ahead and put in file 13 over here. Now I am going to go ahead and unwrap these just to look at them. Let's see here, because we know that's the white and that's obviously the black. Let's go ahead and take a look at it, just because. Now, one thing I would have done is I would have used shorter bolts, and I will use shorter bolts. Actually, what I'll probably do is I will reuse these, but I will shorten them up, because having that extra in there, it kind of takes up room. Just to open these up, take a look here. Yeah. So, yeah. Could have definitely used some shorter bolts. And it looks like everything is okay. You don't want to pull real hard and loosen any of those by accident, but I'm just going to do a quick look through in here and make sure I don't see any bare wires that could be, or make sure there's nothing worn through and I don't see anything. Okay. Alright. So that was one thing I just wanted to do for right now, so we don't mess that up. I'm actually just going to tuck this back in here out of the way for right now, so that that won't get hung up on anything or messed up. And I'm actually going to throw the cover back on, cover this up for right now. Put the screw back in here. Alright, so now we know when we go to wire that back up, that's good to go. Now, you're not ever going to see this. This is going to be underneath, so I'm not going to worry about painting it. I did spend a significant amount of time in elbow grease getting all the... There was even aluminum chips stuck down in here. So I will end up pulling this off just to make sure there still aren't any more that are caught in the fan, because there was one grate that was missing here, and there was a lot of, you could see turnings from like a mill or a lathe were actually stuck in here. They were actually piled up on top of the motor. It was pretty bad. So I've cleaned and just so as a precautionary thing, I will pull these, slide this off, just to make sure there still isn't anything else caught in there. Plus, it will allow me to, once I have the pump off, to make sure that the motor feels good. If it doesn't, then we're going to go through and we'll deal with that accordingly. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to go ahead and remove the pump from the motor itself. It should be 7/16. Yep. Now there'll probably be a little bit of oil that's in here. Now, oil should not be behind this seal back here. Again, I'm gonna have to check and see. I don't know if this, you know, like I said, there was so much oil, because the oil should just go in here and out of here, supply and return, or yeah, supply and pressure. So if there's evidence of this seal leaking, and there's not a lot to this pump, we'll see exactly what type it is. If it's a gear or a rotary vane, we'll take a look at it once we get it out here. So we're slowly coming along. We're doing stuff like this in between our bolt gun build. We are going to be getting back on it. This is one of those things, it's just, you know, it's an in-between project. When I get a chance to sit down and take a break, jump on something else. We've got a lot of tedious, not very interesting camera work to go on. It's a lot of glass bedding and setting up and doing some oddball milling and stuff still. Now that I've got this extension on the mill back here, I'll definitely be able to mount the rifle in the rifle cradle clamp, and it's going to be tall enough where I can work. So now I don't have to pull the setup down every time I have to go in. So let's see, this should just... Alright. So, interesting. So we have a plastic gear here. Alright. And that feels good there. There's a little bit of wear from it. You can see where it's kind of figurated out just a little bit. Not too bad. But that is what you want to be a consumable part. So if something were to get in there, yeah, you can see where it's been leaking. Okay, you can see how the pump's setting. Alright, evidence of it leaking. This is why you take things apart. Okay, so we are going to have to deal with a seal there. That is a definite gonna have to do. Yep. So you want this to be a nylon gear, so if something does get in the pump, this is designed to shear and break. And looking in here, here's the other part. Oh, look, and there's a little coupling gear, same thing. That's feels and looks like a pressed metal part. And there's another, yep. Let's see if we can get in there and get it. Yep. Alright, and there's the other one. Alright, so you've got, that's how it couples up to the motor. And everything looks nice, and there's a little bit of dust down here. But looks good. Doesn't look like there's ever been anything in there. You know, what we will do is we'll come in here with we'll get a big screwdriver, and it felt pretty smooth. Let's see. Here is, I had one handy and then I moved it. Oh, here it is. Alright. Oh yeah, nice and smooth. I can't even hear anything. It's just very smooth. I'm going to spin it. Yeah, I hear nothing. It's smooth. So, other than me going to take that back off later, and I'll do that off camera, just take a look, make sure I got all the aluminum out. I really don't want to go on that and open it up if I don't have to. So there is evidence here of this leaking. That's pretty apparent. So, yep. Alright. So you can see where this is put on. You come here with a spanner wrench and that'll spin off, and it looks like that's just an O-ring there, but there may be something behind it. Making sure there isn't just an O-ring or something on top. Alright, and there's not. It feels nice and tight. It's very, very tight, which is good. Now I have let this thing set up down for quite some time and drain, and there is a little bit of oil left, which is fine. Matter of fact, let's go take this plug out at the bottom here. Typically, I've seen in the past on these plugs in the bottom is there'll be a magnet, so it'll catch any metal fine filings. If there is not, what I am going to do is I'm going to mill it out, and I am going to insert an epoxy in a magnet, or it may just stick in there. Or what I'll do is I'll machine it to where it'll be a press fit, so you don't have to worry about any abrasives or epoxies or chemicals getting loose in the system. Yeah. Everybody's out there, don't use your hand as a hammer. I know it's a bad habit. Well, let's pan over here, and we will go ahead and get in the vise. Alright. I'm going to hold this as such. Alright. Carried away here. So you guys can see everything. No, that was in. Nope. There is a fine piece of metal right there. Now whether that was on that was right up inside. So there wasn't a magnet here. I'm definitely going to drill and put one in there. That'll be one of those little things we do. And I am going to go ahead and pull all these. Alright. Go ahead and raise the camera up so you guys can get a view of everything. Alright. Sorry about the wobble, but we got you tight. There we go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get set up. Alright. We're going to get the camera over here. So I'm going to get some tools together handy, so in the next episode you're going to see me as I tear into this. Again, I want to do all this on camera so you guys see it. Plus this is also a video documentary for myself, so if I run into any issues I can go back and watch the video. So this is how I just approach my problem solving with all this. We'll get our stuff together and we'll go ahead and we'll dissect this. And there we go. So episode 1, the hydraulic pump off the Boyer Schultz Challenger 2A 6x18 surface grinder on Gertrude. So there we go. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. You guys click the like button down at the bottom. I appreciate all my new YouTube subscribers, guys and gals. I love hearing from you. If you have any questions about anything in this or other videos, my public email address, eagledustoff37@gmail.com. So there you go. I'm also on Instagram at eagledustoff37, as well as Twitter at eagledustoff37. So there you go. Follow me on Facebook at eagledustoff37 as well. You kind of getting the idea on where to find me on social media now. I'm trying to keep it simple. So there we go. Until next video, take care of yourself and your family and get out in the shop and do something. This stuff is fun. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.